I got a bunch of messages after we talked last time, and most of them were like, "Wow, this guy has such a good presence. Like you can feel presence through the interview itself." One guy said, "You know what? I loved it, but I would like to get a little bit more practical things that I can implement." So we love to talk about concepts, but I think some people who are listening, they're like, yes, I understand that. For example, we chat about meaning, right? Everything has a meaning, and the way that you define your meaning changes your life. But how would somebody who is listening say, Mateo, this is my meaning that I lived for most of my life, and now I need to adopt a different meaning? How would they do that practically?
Hmm. Yeah, good to be back, man.
Love it.
Yeah, so okay, I'm gonna go philosophical first, and let's see if we
Sure.
can bring it down to the practical. So, I love this saying of Wu Wei from Taoism, which is really the effortlessness or the non-doing. In a sense, all levels of mastery, whatever it is you do, whether you're a super athlete, you're a business guy, you're a meditation guy, it's all about coming to this place of non doing. When someone is at their highest level of mastery, they're in non doing. They've practiced something so much that they just release. So, anything we are working towards should work towards a state of non doing and naturalness. So, if you have these beliefs that are really blocking you, of course, it's natural. The first thing you think about is, well, how can I get rid of it or change it? And I would say if you really want to be very practical about it, then we have to go all the way, 100% practical, which means you have to understand what are you doing to keep these beliefs already. And this is what people miss. People think the beliefs are there, they just came somehow, and now I need to dig it out. And what do I do as a countermeasure? But you have to understand that you are holding on to the belief, right? There is this story they use about how they catch these monkeys, where they have this hollow coconut, and it's just wide enough for the monkey to put its wrists in there. And they put bananas in the hollow coconuts. And once the monkey kind of with an open palm puts its wrist in there, no problem. But once it grabs the banana, it cannot pull its hand out anymore and it gets stuck. It says, what do I do? What should I do? You just need to let go, and then your hand is going to come out. So if you want to get really practical, look at how are you holding on to these beliefs? How are you invested in these beliefs? You can even journal. Ask yourself, what am I getting out of having this belief? Understand very deeply why you're grabbing onto this belief. The belief isn't holding you, you're holding it.
Okay, but okay, then if we go one level down, so to understand what holding your beliefs, you need to understand what are those beliefs, which is not easy thing to do.
It's easy if you bring awareness to your daily life and you can use a prompt, but every kind of suffering we feel almost comes from certain beliefs. And on a radical path of spirituality or liberation or whatever you want to call it, you're invited to question every single one of your beliefs. For example, if you have a business partner or an intimate partner and they cheat on you or they go behind your back and steal your money or whatever, the suffering that comes from that comes from the belief that that wasn't supposed to happen. They weren't supposed to betray me, they weren't supposed to go against me, which, we can say is perfectly rational and fair given the society we live in. Okay, I agree with that. But if you want to be free from suffering, if you want to take this all the way into liberation, you have to question even those beliefs. So when you're suffering, ask yourself, what expectation did I have in this moment that was broken? Maybe your expectation is that people never lie to you.
Yeah.
And when they did, you suffer and it hurts and you get angry and you want revenge or you want to lie back or you want to leave them or whatever. But there is an opportunity, if you're really radical, it's not for everyone, to question every single belief. So the beliefs are very obvious. Whenever you suffer, just poke into it a bit about what is your belief here.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a belief of business partner stealing your money.
Yeah.
Somebody would say, okay, if I if I have expectation for not steal and they steal, I feel bad. But even if I don't have any expectation, to some degree that would mean that people can people can take advantage of me the way they want if I don't have any expectation of this not being right. There's like, I assume that even in religion there's a morality, and morality is a set of beliefs, right? So you have to believe something for you to understand what I'm doing is right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So the beliefs are so ingrained in us. So living without the beliefs, it almost seems like it's impossible.
Mm-hmm. It's more, we're looking at the emotional investment in the beliefs. The beliefs are fine and morality is fine, and we can have principles and standards for how we want to live life. For example, if someone lies to me, I probably don't want them in my inner circle. It's not the values I want to live by. So I'll have a conversation with them and discuss that. But I don't have to be emotionally invested. I don't have to be super judgmental. Oh, he's such a bad person. How could he do this to me? He stole my money in the business example because that is his nature in that moment.
Yes.
Whatever experiences he's had, whatever stuff he's been through has conglomerated up into that moment and leads to him stealing. In a sense, he couldn't have done any other way given this kind of experiences, the beliefs, the impacts he's had. It's like getting angry at a dog for biting you. There is no sense in it. The dog is living its nature, given the stimulus it has had. It leads to it biting you in that moment. So we're not saying be stupid or naive or accept it. We can still respond. We still respond. I might kick the dog and defend myself, or I might tell other people, tell my friends about this guy, what he did. Don't work with him. This is what he did to me. But we're talking about removing the sting of suffering for ourselves.
Interesting. So if we don't take stealing as something, like if we don't have expectation that the person would not steal, we might have expectation that everybody steals. There's one or the other. I mean, I guess my mind is very binary,
Yes.
but I would be like, okay, so then I say, because I had money stolen from me before,
Mm-hmm.
and for me that it just I don't trust people 100% anymore, which is also a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And now I would expect somebody to behave that way, which also create a suffering on the other end.
It could, but if we take it all the way, you don't have to trust everybody. See, there's another belief that you should be in trust, but that is just as much a dogma as any other belief. Why should you be in trust in everything? So there's a difference between naturally being open to life, which we can describe as trust,
Yeah.
and the belief that I have to trust everybody and it's bad if I don't trust. We're talking about seeing the beliefs
Yes.
and questioning them. I mean, if you think about the life we live now compared to just 500 years ago, there would be so many things 500 years ago that's totally normal that have happened in our kind of situation. We would be outraged, especially like with the woke culture. We would be all over social media. What is this? How can? But it just gets normalized to our
Yes.
consciousness.
Which is also a problem.
It could be, could be.
I guess it depends how you react to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It depends if you react at all,
Mm-hmm.
because everything is you perceive and react to the world in a way that your traumas and your upbringing and the way you are. I just don't see the scenario where somebody would steal money from me and I would not get angry. I think that would be unhealthy on its own. Maybe I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could respond without needing to be stuck in your emotional reaction. I think this is where we get confused sometimes. We think that if I am not suffering, if I'm not reactive, there's not going to be a response.
That's interesting.
Of course, actually, your response might be way more intelligent if you're not in reaction.
Yes. But is there anybody who are not react like there's something that triggers everybody? I mean, you're a very well put together person, but I'm sure there are things that would there are some things in this world that would get you to react in a way that just react. Whatever way it is.
Thankfully, they show me where I'm still stuck in my own beliefs and where I'm still kind of have a righteousness where I believe I know better than life what should happen. So whenever I'm in that kind of state, I mean, it's not always I'm able to embody this. The invitation is, how do I know better? Why is it that I think this shouldn't have happened? Like, even if, one's parents dies or some really tragic things happen or I have a great loss in the stock market or whatever, Yeah, it sucks on a personal level, but who am I to say that that shouldn't have happened? How many experiences have I had that were so painful and they turned out to be like the greatest awakener for me?
Yes, I agree with that. But in the moment, like if we live moment to moment,
Hmm.
then the only thing that matters is now. So yes, you lost money in the
Yeah,
stock market, you
yeah,
might be
yeah,
completely broke, and then
yeah.
you have a belief that you're not good enough, which I guess is the biggest belief people have.
Hmm.
With somebody stealing money from you, you're not good enough because you chose that partner. With your loved one cheating on you or loving somebody else, I'm not good enough. So he's choosing somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think the deepest rooted belief, if I go down my rabbit hole,
Yes.
is that I'm not good enough, and this is something that I cannot accept because deep inside I don't want to be not good enough. I have only one life. I want to be the best I can.
That's amazing. Yeah. And right underneath that might be the belief that I'm separate. That's what usually gives rise to this belief that I'm not good enough. I'm separate. I am a separate being. And then there is the rest of the world, which consists of other separate beings. And there is a separate giver of love, which sometimes we project onto God, but usually it's our parents. We experience that the first ones are the parents. There's this separate beings that have power to give me love or give me like punishment,
Yeah.
depending on how good I do as a separate being. So I need to compete with all the other separate beings for love, for attention, for abundance, etc. And so this belief in separation creates this profound unworthiness that everybody has, as far as I can see, regardless of how confident, how successful, how whatever we look on the surface. As long as I believe I'm a separate being, this belief of unworthiness and needing to prove myself is there.
And how do we? Are we not separate?
Well, to me, it's not so much a matter of what is the truth. It's a matter of am I just believing it or not? So if I have a belief that I'm a separate being, I'm interested in questioning that and discover. I don't necessarily need to put a new answer like, oh, I'm not separate or everyone is one, as some people do. They just insert that belief.
Yes.
That's not what I'm interested in. I'm more like a scientist. We should look at what is the evidence? Am I really sure? How do I know?
That could lead potentially to questioning everything.
Wonderful.
But that could lead to procrastinating in every other area of your life.
Yes, but you should again be fully committed to your path. So if you're questioning everything, you should question your procrastination too.
I spent time with this Buddhist monk. He invited me to his house and he's like, let's spend time together. And we spent time together in Karagasam. He's like, let's wake up, meditate in the morning. So we did that. We spent time together. We walked down the beach. Spent like 3 days with him.
Hmm.
And at one point, he started to praying to Balinese gods.
Hmm.
And I was like, huh, interesting. You're a Buddhist monk praying to Balinese gods. And I start questioning everything he does because
Yeah,
I like what he calls mental masturbation.
yeah,
And at some point, he's like, she's asking too many questions. And I'm like, am I asking too many questions or I just want to find some truth that I can't find?
yeah,
And that made me think, okay, what is the point of me asking this man who has some of his beliefs set so well, all these questions, and I'm annoying him with that. I'm spending time with this guy. He invited me, and I'm just kind of ruining our relationship by asking all these questions. But other part of me is like, but if I don't ask it, how would I understand the world?
yeah.
And I'm still confused around that.
I hear a love of truth, a love of inquiry, a love of curiosity that you see in children also, of course. And I think there is an art to question my questioning, right, as you also were doing. There is an art to when to question and
Yeah.
when to relax and just be.
And that string is hard to find because if you have an inquisitive mind,
Hmm.
you would like to grow. And my main value, which it sounds funny here, is extreme sense of urgency.
Hmm.
I believe that life is short and I would like to experience, I'm competing with myself here again, but I would like to experience it as much as I can and
Yeah.
find out in my head all the answers and discern all the confusion.
Hmm.
So when at some point it's healthy, but for most people they can't handle it,
Hmm.
including myself. If you start questioning me too many times,
Yeah.
my not good enoughness would come,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Hmm. Hmm.
So where's the line?
I think the line is, am I using it or is it using me, right? Is my questioning itself a very sharp precision tool that takes me deeper into reality?
Yeah.
Or, and where is that spectrum where it starts turning into an imitation of a precision tool, but that actually just creating more confusion and chaos?
Yeah.
So every artist must know his tools. So if you have those tools in your toolbox, it's your responsibility to really look into what can the tool do, what is its limitations, and how do I use the tool?
I see. Let's say if I start questioning everything, right? Um, I'll spend all my time doing that. I love it. Like
Yeah,
that's why I have a podcast
yeah,
because I like to question my own beliefs. I like to learn from other people. But this is the vehicle for me to do that. Like I'm allowed to do that in this scenario.
yeah.
Now I run businesses. I run teams.
Hmm.
Like if I would come and I would start questioning every decision that I told to my team I do, they're gonna get super confused. Same with kids. The kids need some certainty.
Yeah,
But the point is that there is no certainty because this is just my reality,
yes.
how I see it. So if I treat everything that way, I cannot guide people who want to get guided.
So I make the distinction in my work between existential and practical levels of reality. So a lot of us, we mix up these two levels and it creates a lot of confusion. And this is what you're speaking into here. So on a practical level, I don't need to question everything. I can, there can be an enjoyment in that, but I don't need to sit and question, like, well, what is the foundation of the school that my daughter is going to? What is the deeper intention and values of these people? Are they in right alignment? Of course, naturally, I'm going to do a scan of that. I'm going to feel into it. I want my daughter to be in a good school, good place. But if I go into rabbit holes like that, like what is the DO I'm using? What corporations are behind that? And oh, is that the Illuminati? And you can go down these endless rabbit holes, and it's a hobby, nothing wrong with it, but it probably won't relieve suffering. So we want to, if you're interested in relieving suffering, you want to make your questioning on the existential level. Leave the practical be as it is. Just do your best in the practical. Use common sense.
Yeah.
Don't go full retard, as I say. Little bit retard is okay. Never go full retard with the questioning on the relative level. Just be smart. Just have common sense. And I say that because, a lot of people, they take spiritual teachings and then they try to apply it to the smallest practical things and they complicate life so much.
Yes.
Just have common sense. But on the existential level, question everything. For example, why do I suffer? When something happens, why do I suffer because of that? Oh, because I believe that shouldn't have happened, so I start fighting it. Why do I believe it shouldn't have happened? Well, because if it happens, then I feel worthless or I feel like a disappointment. Why do I feel like a disappointment? So it's not just mental masturbation. It's not just to say why. You genuinely want to get to the root to see what is this tree of suffering made of. And once you see that very deeply without resisting it, it's painful, first of all, because at the root there is often some kind of painful belief that you
Like
learned
what?
from your father or your lineage, or did you say like what?
Like what? Yeah.
Yeah, like the painful belief could be something like it's wrong to ask for help.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to cause a lot of pain for you because if you have that belief since you're a child, you've suppressed the natural urge to want to reach out to others. You've suppressed that for years, and then you're going to feel this tremendous sadness, maybe, or
Yes.
anger about you. I wanted to ask for help, but I suppressed it. So it's painful initially, but then it processes, it digests. And now you can operate without that belief. You can ask for help. You can also not ask for help.
Yes.
So something becomes open, something breathes. And here it's very practical. It's your nervous system that's opening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the most painful thing is to go down that rabbit hole, and most people don't want to go and ask those deeper questions. So it's I'm not good enough is not the worst.
Yeah,
It's just okay. So we're so used to that. Okay, there's people better than me, so maybe I'm
yeah,
not good enough is a very kind of a light way of that.
yeah,
But then if you go into like I'm not worthy of love, nobody loves me,
hmm
and then finding. I think you can find justification and proof for everything if you search deep enough, and then you can get lost into this. So it could lead you to a depression.
It could reveal depressions that already live within you and that you use a lot of energy numbing yourself from, certainly. And you're right, most people are afraid, but they're afraid because of beliefs. For example, it's very common that people have the belief, if I go into this, I'm going to be stuck in it forever, or something's going to go wrong and then I cannot come out of it, or I'm not going to be able to handle it, I'll die. Almost everyone on some level has this belief about really painful emotions, which is why we work so hard to avoid them. I believe I cannot handle it, I cannot tolerate it, my body is going to explode. There are all kinds of irrational beliefs that we believe, and we live our lives based on that. So I use so much money, so much energy to avoid a little emotion that might last for an hour, or let's say 3 days, let's be extreme. I spend years doing all kinds of stuff, trying to impress everyone, trying to like do all this just to avoid feeling like a sense of worthlessness for a couple of hours. It's not rational. It pretends to be rational.
Yes.
That's how it gets us, but it's not.
How do you understand you get to the core? Like, because you can ask those questions, right? You can go
Yeah.
down that infinite recursion, which I
Yeah.
guess is finite to some degree,
Yeah.
and then you reach those core.
Yeah.
I think you call it core beliefs
Sure. Yeah.
in your book, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So how do you know you arrived?
You're going to feel it. There is going to be a profound insight. So, this process, how to describe it? So, we're in the age of AI now, and AI is rapidly improving. Yeah. It's
Yes.
rapidly growing. If we go back to the first iterations of ChatGPT, for example, there's a huge difference. I mean, some would say it's gotten worse in some ways, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But it's grown tremendously. The process of meditation or awareness training, in whatever method you use to train your awareness, is supercharging your capacity and the speed of your awareness in a sense. The more supercharged it gets, the deeper it can penetrate your subconscious. Again, this is not theoretical what I'm talking.
Okay.
It's experiential. It's something you can go through in your subjective experience. So your awareness becomes very sharp, very precise, very tender. It also has to be tender, right?
Okay.
Very loving. It's not just seeing everything with a kind of hatred. It's also tender, inclusive. And as that happens, it starts being able to go down your subconscious deeper and deeper, and whatever it sees integrates. Whatever it sees, first you have an emotional reaction to it, and then it starts, oh man, that hurts. How could I not see that? the external the external example of this is you've had a friend for so long or a partner, and there was something you didn't never saw, you didn't want to see it, and then some of your friends tell you about it, and then you're like, oh, you resist, and then one day you see it. You're like at a party and you see it right in front of you. It's so clear and it hurts and you don't want to see it, but then you process what you saw and you get some clarity. So your awareness starts being able to go through your unconscious like this, and you get to integrate more and more and more of your subconscious.
Mm.
So the more you integrate it, the less you're driven by these beliefs that were unconscious before. You see them in real time.
And the process of it is journaling and going down to asking yourself why, but in a gentle way.
Yeah, journaling can be a very good one. And but in essence, you can use many techniques, but in essence, it's your own consciousness undoing itself. It's your own unconscious looking, uh, your own consciousness looking at the parts of it that has been unconscious and awakening to them. So, of course, this is a more poetic or mystical thing I'm saying,
Yeah.
but reality is mystical.
And there are some times where it's natural. Like I was driving a bike yesterday. I was angry at few things. Like I was really, really angry. And then the anger kind of passed and I started to see things in a very mellow kind of way where I would be
Yeah,
like, huh,
yeah,
I start to understand. Like you sometimes you feel, oh, I understand something,
yeah,
something new. I don't completely get the full gist of it,
yeah.
but I can see it in a different way and it's in its very gentle way. But getting to that to me requires some sort of a emotional boost to kind of let everything out to then be able to take it in. because there's so many walls, so many guards,
Yeah.
and it takes like really some shaking away. Like, ah, I'm so angry. Like, huh, why?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. In the beginning, especially, as we start becoming more familiar with those protectors that are within all of our psyche, they can take over more. But with time, gradually, as you work with them, you start saying, oh, I know this one. Like it gets really angry. Okay, there's probably something. So that protector itself becomes a signpost for you.
Okay.
So everything in you starts becoming a signpost pointing you deeper.
Yeah.
Where for the ordinary consciousness, let's say, everything is a signpost to point you more to the surface and avoid. So
Yeah.
you rationalize and avoid. You're turning that around and saying, it's almost in the beginning like a stubborn willingness to see the truth, no matter how painful.
Yeah.
And then everything you use it to go deeper and deeper into your process until your depth swallows. It's in the beginning, it seems like you're working from above, going towards your unconscious.
Yeah.
But at some point, a light activates from the bottom of your unconscious and it starts swallowing your unconscious. It starts bringing all of it up and you start digesting it very, very quickly.
Interesting. Because I think everybody has their own escape mechanism. Like my escape mechanism is to go away.
Yeah,
Like my mom used to do that when she get angry, she would just go and she would be
yeah,
silent. She would not
yeah,
talk.
yeah,
And I kind of took it in me. So when something happened, I need to process,
yeah,
I go away.
yeah,
But then I learned that if I just stay,
yeah,
because going away means I'm running from my suffering. If I just stay in pain, then it's going to be less pain than if I go away and the pain is just consistent. Maybe a small pain, nausea pain, but consistent. Then if I just stay with pain, it's going to be strong pain, but then it's going to subside.
100%. And that's an emotional experiential learning that you've gone through, which you didn't just read something rationally. You probably went through a process of struggle and back and forth and success until your system got, oh, wait a minute, this was actually better. And what I'm pointing to as a path of liberation is to make that your whole life. Basically, make every moment and deeper inquiry into staying with things as they are. And that is, if you really are interested in freedom, that is the fastest path. It's faster than just sitting and meditating because you're using everything in your life to reveal the fact that all my fears are an illusion. I am afraid because of nothing. I am afraid based on the belief that I exist as a separate being, and almost all of my fears come back to that. And each time I check, it is a belief. I cannot find this separate being that I keep insisting emotionally I am and that I need to defend.
We talked about that before, and I'm going to say it again because I believe that a lot of it comes down to awareness. So if every moment you want to accept the reality as it is and get all the guards away, every moment you have to be super aware, super in tuned. Okay, so I don't know, the rain has started and it's okay. I'm gonna get wet. I cannot control the rain. It is fine. So this level of awareness, instead of getting angry, instead of getting wet and scared and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you have to get yourself down to the core and guide yourself, like being a mentor to yourself, which is for a regular person like myself
Yeah,
incredibly hard to do in a
yeah,
moment.
yeah. Yeah, you really need to have a love and a passion for it. It's like anything else, Some people have the love and passion for making money or their sports or whatever. I've always had, for whatever reason, this love and passion since I was a kid. I wanted to get to the root of things.
Yeah,
And you can call that karma, some past lives maybe I had, or you can call it luck or genetics or I don't know.
yeah,
But it was there for whatever reason. And I do believe you need to have that. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Like anything else, if someone comes and says, I want to make $1 million a year or a month or whatever, okay, are you passionate? Are you willing to do whatever it takes? And say, no. Well, good luck. It's not
yes,
going to happen.
yes. So you have, I mean, what we can take, because you are like on level 25 of this because you're trained it so much and this is your passion. But for everybody else out there who wants to just have less suffering, be less
Yeah,
angry, and
yeah,
just, I guess I don't like the word happiness because the happiness is something that comes and goes. You're happy, you're not happy, but just being content and peaceful. So for people like that, asking for a friend.
Yeah.
uh, in a moment, what would be some of the guiding thing that they can tell themselves to get them out of the bullshit and to the core, I guess?
There was this awesome quote, and of course, I'm not really answering your question.
It's okay.
There was this awesome quote that said, don't get on the path of enlightenment. It's better you don't get on the path and just live your life. But if you do get on it, you better fucking finish, right?
Yeah.
So that's, it's once you get started on this, you have to finish the journey. And some of the viewers, they are at that point where they do know I have to finish. And some are like still in that beginning where they're like, you know what? This ocean, they just put their feet in a little bit. It can wait for another lifetime. It can wait for another 10 years. Let me just, that's okay. If
Yeah.
you get that sense and you want to go just distract yourself a little bit, or it's fine. Just be honest with yourself. But if you're knee deep in the ocean and you know I cannot turn around, I cannot lie to my, it's not going to be possible anymore, then you just got to buckle up and you just go 100%. There is no point in, going back and forth and questioning, do I really want this? I know all this because I did it. I went for a deep, dark night of the soul and I would get so angry. I would go through purification. All these emotions would come up, all this subconscious, and I would sit and moan for a week. I would be angry. I would say, why did this happen to me? My whole life is ruined. I used to be such a successful businessman. I could do whatever I want. Now I'm just stuck on a mountain, feeling all this pain all the time. And I would feel sorry for myself. And I had to learn pretty quickly, doesn't help anything. I still have to go through this emotion. So better buckle up. It also happened to me in my longest dark retreat, in the 49-day one. For the first couple of days, my mind was complaining. Oh, what am I going to do? I'm bored in here. Only pain is coming. What's the point of this? Other people are living their normal life. What are you doing in darkness? I'm bored. Again, I'm bored. I'm distracted. And then after a few days, I just realized this doesn't help a goddamn thing. I'm in here. There are no distractions. So I better just get on with the program. And I think this kind of attitude is very powerful, but you need to come to clarity with yourself. Do you want to be free? If you want to, then quit moaning. Just go for it because you want to.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, no need to feel bad about it. Just be clear with yourself. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And it's not black and white. In every moment, you have this choice.
But also accepting reality as it is.
Yeah,
I think for me and for many people is just accept the situation you're in.
that's it.
Okay, I don't know, somebody stole your money, somebody cheated on you. This happened.
Yeah.
I think not accepting that this happened or hoping that this didn't happen
Yes.
or hoping that have this hope that okay, but maybe this person who stole my money will gonna come back and give my money back. All those things lead you to suffering because it's like it creates a hope that you know is not true and you're just trying to protect yourself from what happened.
And now we're back to the start. Exactly. You can only accept that moment if you're not holding on to beliefs that the moment should be different.
Yeah. All right. Full circle.
Mm.
I had a dinner with a bunch of very successful entrepreneurs. So those are like 1% or 1%. And just people were sharing what they're afraid of and what they need help with. And most of them said similar thing. They said, I achieved so much and I was hoping that there is some kind of a peace. And those people are like 50, 60 years old. And I was hoping that there is some kind of a peace or nirvana. We talked about nirvana a lot. And then they said, well, maybe I should jump on another project and maybe that will give me nirvana. What do you think around that? Because this is very common, and especially entrepreneurs, people who keep on achieving, we always have, and you, I'm sure, had this before. At the end of it, there is some expectation. There is some kind of a thing that's gonna wait for you. The garden of heaven's gonna open up. All the women gonna run for you. You'll have your private jet parties, and it's gonna be the best thing that ever happened. And it never is. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's the nature of the human mind to seek.
Yeah.
And I don't think necessarily it's more noble to seek spiritually than it is to seek through entrepreneurship. I think it's the same mechanism. It's seeking. Of course, a lot of spiritual people can tend to think they're better because they're seeking spiritually
Yes.
rather than in business
Yes.
or for athletics or whatever. But it's the same seeking mechanism. The seeking mechanism is built on there is a lack here in this moment. This moment is wrong as it is, and I will complete it somehow. And Ramana Maharshi used to have this beautiful quote. He said, "It's not wrong that you're searching for happiness. What's wrong is that you're searching for happiness in the wrong places, right? So it's a natural impulse to try to search for happiness. And the Buddha would, in Buddhism, they would describe it as we're not searching just for happiness and peace, we're searching for a special kind of happiness and peace, one that's permanent.
Yeah.
That's the issue. We all experience like highs and peace, but it's not permanent, right? So, what if we take this as this is the human condition?
Yeah.
We all want to be happy and peaceful in a permanent, sustainable way, and we quantify it in different ways. We go about it through different methods. One person says, okay, when I have like 100 million in the bank account, that's going to give me perfect, permanent peace. I don't have to
Yes.
worry anymore. Another person is when I have my family and I have my kids, and wow, it's going to give me permanent happiness. Another person is like when I do all my biohacking and I like decrease my markers, I'm 20 years younger than my biological age. That's it's all in a sense. My hypothesis is it's a searching for a permanent kind of happiness and peace, but we're all bound to fail because this is impermanent. Reality is impermanent, so you cannot find any permanent happiness.
Okay.
So this is the starting point for a genuine spiritual path, let's say, when you realize this deep enough. To realize this deep enough, you usually have to fail at your other attempts. You have to try, and you're like, oh, it failed. Some people are very stubborn. They want to keep trying, right? They're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no, no, I just didn't do it big enough.
Yes.
This one is going to do it. Eventually, they will also have to learn that it didn't work. So we're all on this path. So, okay, it didn't work. I realized, what do I do now?
Yeah.
This is the beginning of the spiritual path. You come into this painful realization. At first, it's very painful that everything is impermanent, and not just because you read that the Buddha said it, you feel it in your own heart. And if you can stay with that pain, you see it's also extremely beautiful. It's painful and it's beautiful. It's like, I don't know what life is, but it's so precious. And every time I try to grasp at it, it's going. I love my parents and I look at them and I can hear in my father's voice he's getting older. I can see it. And that reminds me of my own impermanence. I see my children. Oh, a few years ago, they were just like a baby, so cute and innocent. And oh my God, now they're learning to lie. They're learning to manipulate. I see the
Yeah.
adult part coming. So you're constantly faced with impermanence. I made this huge exit. I have all this money. And then you look in the bank, oh, the money is going down as I'm spending it, even though that gives me joy. So at that point, you're finally available to start seeing the reality around you in a deeper way. Before that, we're too scared. We're too much in denial. We're still trying to cope with the fact that it's impermanent. And that is the precious beginning of a constant undoing. So as you become more comfortable with this, you're constantly undone. It's like in each moment, you're undone until your mind and your heart gradually start giving up creating this permanent, trying to visualize that I'm a permanent separate being and I'm going to live forever and some stuff out there is permanent, my bank account or my relationships. No. And that's called flow. That's called liberation. But people want to be in a flow state while still holding on to everything permanent that it's not going to be a flow state.
So
Flow
there
means it's impermanent.
there is no permanent happiness and peace.
And maybe recognizing that very deeply is a profound sense of contentment beyond anything that waxes and wanes.
Because I assume if you don't have expectations, you are in peace.
If you don't have expectations, you're at peace. I would say expectations are not the issue. If you're not attached to your expectations,
Yeah.
expectations are a natural part of growth. I set goals constantly. I want to reach higher and higher goals, and whether it's my cardio or it's my, whatever it is, I have goals, and it spurs me on as a human being. That's the practical reality.
Yeah.
It's not an issue to grow in the practical. The issue is if I start making the existential level of meaning dependent on that. This is the problem.
Saying like, oh, I'm not gonna live if I don't cut 10 kilos in the next month.
If I make my happiness dependent on the play of the practical reality, then now I ruined the play. I made it too serious. But the play of wanting to grow, wanting to make more money, wanting to have more impact, get healthier, all this stuff is natural.
Yeah, but if you don't attach any expectations, then your bar might be a little bit low. You are not have that motivation to go for
Yes,
it that hard.
this is definitely can be true. I have realized and seen this in myself, and maybe that's my natural state. I believe everybody has a certain natural bar that they have beyond pushing and pulling. I believe everybody has a natural level of goals or things they want to achieve. And the question is, can I trust that, or should I compare to the person next to me? Oh, there's always going to be someone who's doing better. Maybe that's their life path.
Yes.
If I compete with them and it's not my life path, I lose even if I win.
But even for yourself, when it's getting tough, then you don't want to play the game anymore. And then how do you get yourself to play the game? So you kind of, at least what I do, I'm going to speak for
Yeah,
myself.
yeah,
I trick myself into, you know what? You need to do it because you won't be worth it if you don't do it.
yes,
Like, who are you?
yes,
Why can't you do
yes,
it? And I push through pain,
yeah,
which we talked about
yeah,
before.
yeah,
Is it good or bad? I don't know, but there is a level of, if you want to play that game better and achieve more, even for the sake of playing games, somehow you have to overcome, because that's the game. Like, if you don't overcome anything, the game is not fun. So the question is, if you want to overcome more, you have to find more motivation to overcome. And how do you drive that motivation if not connecting it to something tangible in your life? I'm going to put all my money on this,
yeah,
and if that doesn't work, I'm going to be completely broke, useless, and nobody's going to love me, and then
yeah,
my kids going to
yeah,
disown me.
yeah.
Oh, now I'm super motivated to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's a good thing to do.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I do that.
yeah. Well, you're doing that because probably it makes sense to some level of you. It still makes sense, and you're still getting more benefits, more perceived benefits than costs.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to you. So it's one way you're developing your consciousness. You're learning what works and you're learning what doesn't work. And this is how all research and development happens, right? You test, you trial things, you get feedback.
Yeah.
So maybe you're in a research and development process as all of us, kind of seeing what parts works for you and what doesn't.
I don't think it works. When I'm saying that,
Yeah.
I do not think it works. Because,
Yes.
yes, I do achieve most of the things I set myself goal to, but why am I not stopped and being in peace and happiness, as you're saying? Because I keep on pushing the bar and putting everything on the red again, putting everything
Yeah.
on the red
Yeah.
again. I do treat it as a game, but it's kind of more like a casino is a game as well, but then you can be addicted and broke and unhappy.
Well, I would hypothesize that if you know it doesn't work and you're still doing it, it's because part of you values that achievement game more than your own peace. So
That's,
it makes sense to do
yes,
it. Again, we're very intelligent beings. Whatever we do, it makes sense on one level.
yes. But then part of me saying, okay, listening to you and
Yeah.
reading all the books like Vipassana. So essentially, I understand the concept that you can do like this and feel peaceful in a moment. Tony Robbins talk about changing your state, feeling peaceful. You can feel like complete shit. You internalize, you do some breath work, you do some things, and then you feel at peace.
Yeah.
But I think impermanence of that peace
Yeah.
is a problem. Then you're like, okay, great. But peace gets boring too. Happiness gets boring
But
too.
it's not real peace then,
Exactly.
right? It's a
Yes.
state we do and we create, and we can create all kinds of states, and they're interesting. But real peace is not boring, you know. Real bliss is not boring. You could sit for infinity in peace and just be fully content and fully happy. And there does seem to be a mechanism. I mean, we have the myths, like archetypical myths of Shiva and Shakti, and they say Shiva was just sitting there in perfect stillness, and then Shakti stirs him, right? She says, come out and play. So there is also an energetic aspect to creation. And the mind always creates this extremes like, okay, then I'll sit in the peace, then I'll leave everything and I'm just going to sit forever.
Yes.
But nature isn't like that in my experience, right? And these myths point to that nature isn't like that. You find the perfect peace, and then it's like, hey, I want to be disturbed. I found the peace, now I want to be disturbed. I want chaos to take me over.
Yes.
And so there is this dynamic play in life and existence. Or you go into being disturbed and pushing, and then you're like, oh my God, I want to find peace.
Well, it feels like very ingrained in us. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you look at Adam and Eve, they're living in a
Mm-hmm.
garden of
Yeah.
Eden, everything is great. You can do whatever you want, just don't eat the fucking apple.
Yes.
And they still eat the apple.
And this is the polarized way of the mind, right? It's this polarity between chaos and peace. And the traditions, how I understand them, and in my own experience, the journey of the human being is to collapse this polarity more and more through your life so that stillness and chaos are recognized to be one and the same. So that while you're moving as energy, you still have that peace. And while you're in peace, you still have energy. This means you have resolved a very deep conflict in human life, and now you no longer have this questioning between activity and stillness. You realize it as the same. You don't have this questioning between beginning and endings, because everything, all polarities start kind of experientially, not just, I'm not talking theoretically, experientially they start collapsing.
Yes. So, like I'm thinking about it, I think a lot of it is putting labels to things, right
Mm-hmm.
and wrong, chaos is bad,
Yeah,
the peace is good.
yeah,
And then when you put labels, you sort of then you put expectations towards things. But there are, I was talking yesterday to somebody right here about intuition. He's like, well, um, I find that I'm in a state of flow when I listen to my body and there's intuition. Let's say I'm in presence of somebody, like you have this very peaceful energy, so I feel very peaceful. Somebody could walk in that I have some I don't know bad
yeah,
bad dealing with, or I just don't like the person. They can just be here, be completely silent, and I can not think about anything, but my body will react. I'll get angry. I'll get squished.
yeah,
So there's something more subconsciously than just internalizing things, where the reality is kind of shifting you back and forth. And I don't know what I would need to do for to me to feel different for that person. Maybe I do want to feel love for that
yeah,
person, but I cannot because just my
yeah,
physiology is telling me stay away.
yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
Well, entire reality in my experience is a game of reflections and mirrors. Yeah. So I would say you feel peace around me, to use that example, because my peaceful presence stirs up the peacefulness in you.
Mhm.
It stirs up that part of you which is peaceful. When that person comes, it stirs up the parts of you that are agitated and in chaos. And because it's so hard for us to admit to certain parts, both positive and negative in ourselves, we get lost a lot in these projections. We make it about the other. This is what we do in
Of
relationships, right?
course.
We make it about the other, then we fight. No, it's you, it's not me, and all that.
Yes.
But it all comes down to I don't want to see certain aspects of myself. So it's really true what the masters say that, each time you're pointing a finger, you're pointing three back.
Yeah.
It's they say don't judge. I used to be really against teachings like this. I thought it's so dogmatic. What is this? It's forced morality. It's not. It's a deep understanding that what triggers me is what I don't want to see in myself. It might not be the exact same thing. Maybe if someone is angry, doesn't mean it's my anger I don't want to see, but there's something that I don't want to see. So this process of including everything as it is love. If you try to force yourself to live up to your concept of love, that's not being loving, because in that moment there's fire,
Yeah.
there's heat, there's contraction that wants to be seen and mirrored in your consciousness. The consciousness seems to me, the consciousness is what we are, is on this journey of discovering and remembering that every appearance is it. From the most positive to the most negative is consciousness itself. And as you start being willing to see all these appearances as your own reflection, then there is not much to defend. The defensiveness becomes less and less and less. And then you're naturally in a state of love. But you earned your way into that realization by loving everything you didn't want to love.
Yes. So you're saying is that way you can resolve, if you resolve it within you, your reaction to this other person might change.
Definitely. I mean, I think everybody's experienced that. And to resolve it within you means to don't have a need to resolve it in that moment. You just feel bad and you hate it and you wish you would feel different. And that's all part of the moment. This is difficult. It's going to feel uncomfortable in the moment. And it's easier to say, that guy's an asshole. I really hate him. Now I get a little bit of relief from
Yes.
my. But the whole name of the game, in a sense, is to become extremely comfortable with pressure internally.
So the person is here, you're hating them,
Yeah.
and you're sitting with that hate and you don't blame them. You're just sitting with yourself and like, okay, I hate this person and I still gonna sit still.
That would be a nice start. And then I would go to not acting it out. So hate is here.
Yes.
I don't have to say I hate that person. I also don't have to hate myself for feeling hate and saying, oh, I should be loving. There is something here that I call hate. I'll give you the full thing. It's going to be difficult in the moment without practice. Okay, hate is here. Even hate is a label. What do I actually mean when I say hate? Go to the sensation level. Okay, there is some intense, there is some heat, there is the arms want to like move and punch maybe. Okay, let me breathe into that. Let me open. That's you learning to master that particular type of energy, right? This is why they talk about Tantra a lot. Tantra, in my understanding and experience, is about mastering every kind of energy, becoming comfortable with every kind of energy that can arise in a human psyche. If you look at the Buddhist or Hindu archetypes, they have all kinds of different gods, yeah? Angry gods, happy gods. These are, to me, pointers. They're giving reflections to the kinds of states that can arise in a human being and say, befriend this.
Yes. It's interesting. I never thought about that way. Because, yeah, they're just something that I am not comfortable of experiencing.
Yeah.
So I experience something when this person's presence is. And there's few people with certain archetype, when they come in, I don't know what is about them, but somehow they might remind me of somebody, but I am feeling completely lost. I cannot talk to them.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. They're completely cool. I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Because their energy is not something that I am able to receive. So I need to learn how do I receive what this particular person energy is.
Beautiful.
And if I learn how to receive 10 and 20 of them and I be able to make peace with them, maybe I'm never going to completely like them, but at least they're not going to affect me in a way they are. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. And, I would just say it a little bit differently, that you're making peace with what that archetype triggers in you.
Yeah.
That's what you're making peace
Yes.
with.
Because it's not about them. I never
Yes.
think it's about them. I see it and I'm like, I remember you are like this other person in my school and this person in my school, we hated each other.
Yeah.
And you're really nice, but I have to leave.
Yeah.
But instead, I always think like, I actually think about it all the time. How do I try to understand it? Like it triggers everything about this person triggers me for no reason. And I'll be like, how do I try to understand it? And maybe I just need to look inside. I'm like, in that moment, right? What you do is you start to analyze right away. Okay, this is my sensation. This is how I feel. And maybe kind of connecting it with your brain and subconscious.
And most people won't be able to do that in the moment. Don't worry if that's you as a viewer listening to this, because it's difficult. And so that's why we bring in the art of formal practice. This is why you need formal practice. In some spiritual circles these days, they say, oh, you don't need to practice. You're already God. You're already this. This is a kind of BS.
Yeah.
Theoretically, it sounds good. But if you don't know that, it doesn't make any difference to your lived life. It has to be embodied and lived. For that, we need formal practice. You need to spend an hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes, okay, at the very least every day, whatever your practice is. If it's maybe going for a walk, maybe it's drinking tea, maybe it's journaling, you have to find the practice that works for you. The
How do you
prac
know it's the right one?
You know it's the right one when it takes you deeper into your own center, when it helps resolve the tensions and stresses of the day, and it starts showing you more deeper into the roots. So use those as kind of anchoring points.
It also requires a discipline. So, would you say that it's not easy to do? Because I mean, some people would think, like myself, I
Yeah,
did meditation for a very long time. I did dark retreat.
yeah,
I did a whole bunch of stuff, but the discipline and being consistent with it, I think this is where mastery, as we discussed
yeah,
last time, comes in. And at a certain point, at like probably day 20, in my usual case, because I'm like, I'm going to do it for 21 days.
yeah,
And day 20, you're like, I think it's already helpful. I mastered it
yeah,
enough. And then I just go
yeah,
off the course
yeah.
exactly where I started. So sometimes, because I search again, a search for something that is so easy to do that it feels so natural, but it's always an effort. You always need a discipline.
Yes.
Is that right?
I think definitely it's not easy, as we've all experienced. For some reason, there is this force within us that likes to not do the things that makes us feel good and
Yes.
be lazy instead. Yeah. And there is also a progression that happens, just like with anything. So each time you kind of fail, quote unquote, like I decided to do 1 month, but I did 20 days and I gave up.
Yeah.
Let's just call that a loss or failure for the sake of simplicity. That is actually a part of the journey because that gives you some kind of pain,
Yes.
right? And then next time you learn, you try, maybe you go a little bit further, and there is a development. Nothing is wasted. There's a development happening until you integrate. For example, in this case, we're talking about the spiritual force of willpower. Some traditions, they talk about that as one of the qualities of the soul, will, the willpower in its essence, right?
Yes.
And in the traditions, they talk about these can come as states. So you experience willpower as a state. And if you keep accessing that state and practicing with it, you'll leave it, then you'll come back. At some point, it becomes what they call a station.
Okay.
When it becomes a station, it means you've worked with that quality so deeply that, in a sense, you can access it at any point that you want to.
That's cool. So it's ingrained in you already. You learned the lesson and you don't have to have an external tea ceremony to get there.
Exactly.
Huh.
Exactly. You can just think about the tea ceremony and immediately you can access it. And you go through this progression with many qualities. Love is another,
Yeah.
power is another, clarity, until they become stations. When they become stations, it's not like you feel it all the time, but you have access at any point you would need to.
So you can change your state.
It's more that you can access these resources as ways of relating to whatever state you're in. So even if you're in a state of confusion, you can always access, let's say, clarity and relate to your confusion with clarity.
Wow. Okay. That's
But it sounds mystical, but it's really not. Like if you've been in business, you've discovered that in a more practical way, maybe this quality of, I need to step up now. People are depending on me. And you just access this energy to do what's needed.
yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Or when everything is going wrong, you have this you have the state of saying, okay, it's gonna be all right. Like this, what we call in business dumb optimism, where you're in a house full of fire and
Yeah.
you're like, it's gonna be all
It,
right.
it's it's exactly that. So you don't say in that moment, "Oh, everything is good," or try to change.
Yeah.
No, you just say it is bad, and I'm gonna do what's needed.
Yeah. So accept reality as it is, and because you've been there before, you sort of have some sort of comfort to keep going.
That's it. So I would say, that's spiritual practice,
Yeah.
and this is the beauty. We're all practicing spiritually in whatever dimension we're in.
I mean, for me, the easiest way to relate that is running.
Hmm.
So I used to run marathons and did triathlons, and right now, like if I run and something really hurts, I could get myself in a zone where it doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
And that actually translatable.
Yes.
So now if I need to work and I'm sleepy and I really need to finish, I can access the same state as I run, where like just one step at a time, it doesn't matter. Just show up, we're gonna finish this one line of code and then we're gonna go to sleep and then 5 hours later, everything is done.
Exactly. And the more of these states you have access to, and the more you've integrated them, hopefully we can put these positive qualities towards serving and benefiting ourselves and others. And I think that's how we can feel tremendous happiness in our hearts, because happiness comes when we see impact, when we benefit others and ourselves, and also, do some good in this world.
Yeah. You talk about the state of non-efforting, which is very interesting. I guess it's the same as state of flow.
Mhm.
I this is a hard to understand if I've been on this state, but I assume everybody did. To me, I'm going to explain it to you, and then I'm going to ask a question. So, for example, I'm working on a project, and everything seems to align where it's supposed to align. People are coming, things are happening, and I feel that okay, I'm doing the right thing because the world is opening up for me, and the gates are not there. But at some point, going for a state of flow, you're still gonna reach some kind of a wall where you're like, is it still state of flow? And when you hit that wall, how do you get yourself back to state of non-efforting?
Yeah, beautiful. So I would say it can be helpful to track it on the outside, but I wouldn't track it personally on the outside. I wouldn't view the world opening up as a sign that I'm necessarily in alignment or flow,
Okay.
because, yeah, I think that can be a helpful way to, it can be kind of generate positivity, but I think it can also give away my power. So where I'm measuring on the outside my alignment. So that's the first thing I would say. But I would say when life is going really well, that's wonderful, because that helps everything be lubricated in your nervous system and move more easily, more in a flow state. So that's a mirror to you about the state of flow inside. It's teaching you about how the state of flow can feel like.
Yes.
Then, if you're a serious practitioner, you would take those teachings that you learned when everything was going good and then apply it when everything is not going good. You would try to still embody the same, just like when you were tapping into those marathon states, or, you know, everything is burning and I'm just going to deal with it. You apply it. That's the spiritual practice. When the outside is not reflecting it, now is the invitation to show that my inner reality is doesn't need to be dependent on the outside. I have agency to choose.
Yeah. So for me, it's usually going back, just bringing it back. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to how I would see, let's say I hit some roadblock and I feel the tension. I'll be like, huh, interesting. We're still playing the same game, but right now, this is the interesting challenge we need to overcome.
Yeah.
And that's how
Yes.
I go back to the state of being playful.
Yes.
Because I think flow and being playful is kind of similar. My kids are always in a state of flow, especially when I don't interrupt and don't bring my own bullshit to their
Yeah.
life. They're kind of playing. They're like they try, see, they're very present, and they are in a state of flow. There's
Yeah.
nothing there. They accept reality as it is. They cry when they cry. They scream when they scream. Um, and I think this is where I guess there's already proven that we forget by the age of 7 this state, and then essentially we drop into sometimes when there is some interesting game or some business case or whatever, or probably a practice. We're like, ooh, I'm a kid again.
Yes.
So this playfulness and state of flow, would you say the same thing?
I think there's, I think playfulness is definitely related to flow and safety, right?
Yeah,
Playfulness is a function of safety. When I feel safe, I want to play.
yeah,
And I don't know if we touched on this last time, but let's address it now because I think it's important. In a lot of spiritual circles, there's this idea that freedom or enlightenment or spirituality or whatever is about becoming like a child again,
uh-huh.
which I disagree with. It's it's re reintegrating our childlike qualities, but with a level of maturity and integration that a child doesn't have. Because yes, it's beautiful. Children are spontaneous, but also there's so much functionality they don't have. Their impulse control isn't developed. It's like, I want this and I'm going to be upset. So, in that sense, there's suffering also in being a
Yes,
child, right? It's not a state of freedom. But we can integrate, we usually lose our connection with our innocence and childhood and
yes,
childlike qualities as we grow up. We have responsibilities, we learn impulse control, we have to think smartly. Well, we can retain all of those gifts and then integrate all the childlike qualities But that is very different than returning to being a child again. And it's an important distinction. I learned this distinction from Ken Wilber initially. Very interesting author, because you see this in a lot of spiritual communities, this confusion, and people think freedom is about becoming like a child
Yeah.
with all the immaturities that a child would also have.
Yes. You touch suffering. A lot of spiritual practice is about suffering.
Yeah.
The whole notion of orthodoxy, I think Christianity in general,
Yeah.
is that we sent here to suffer.
Mhm.
So we are suffering from the sins that Adam and Eve had
Yeah.
when they ate the apple, and we're going to suffer through life to get freedom after.
Yeah.
Even in Buddhism, you
Yeah.
sit in this, I did Vipassana, right? You sit in this uncomfortable position. People like take chairs, people like moaning. It is suffering.
Yeah.
So you're getting enlightenment through suffering. Part of me understands it, part of me thinks, even like going to dark retreat, you're literally suffering for 49 days. Like at some point not, but you're putting yourself in a state of suffering.
Yeah.
To get somewhere. Do you feel there is a way to get enlightened, whatever it means, without suffering?
Well, one of the Buddha had 4 noble truths. One of them was life is suffering. So I think it's a very astute observation. It might sound obvious, but it takes a lot of inquiry to actually be able to say that from a deep experiential place. Doesn't mean that life is only suffering. That's not what he meant. But he analyzed life and he saw, wow, each time I get happy, now I want to hold on to that happiness and then I lose it. So he said there is the suffering aspect to life. This is the truth for all of us. So then, since we want permanent happiness and ease, we must have a confrontation with this suffering that's part of every human life. We must understand it in a very profound manner if we want to become free from it.
Okay.
And the whole spiritual path is this. So they're trying to teach your system about how suffering works in a very accelerated manner, so that instead of going through trillion lifetimes and going through the same heartbreak 100 times until you say, oh, you know what, I did this 100 times before, and even when I was so in love, this then came like a phase after that and there was some suffering, or she died, or there was a betrayal. They try to supercharge this and make it very focused so that you can learn about how suffering works and hopefully as a result become free from it. Now, some traditions have added a lot of BS and their own guilt and shame onto this.
Yes.
But I think, it is true if we take it as a metaphor, I am suffering because of the sins of Adam and Eve. If we use it as a metaphor, not in a literal way, because that's my lineage, that's my ancestors. Whatever my ancestors, whatever suffering they couldn't resolve, genetically is passed on to me, and I get the task of, see this, your grandfather, he could never deal with his anger. Let's see how you do. Can you resolve this?
Yeah.
So if we take it as metaphors, yes. If we take it literal, it creates more suffering.
We are in Ubud, which is the mecca of spirituality to some
Yeah.
degree. And there is a lot of, even in the air, it feels a heaviness. So,
And you don't mean just the rain.
no. Because you go to spiritual circles and you feel the trauma, I can't even explain it. It's like a very deep sense of suffering. We're healing and we're suffering.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it to some degree.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe it's helping for some people to, like, when I see you suffering, I kind of suffer less. But for me, when I see you suffer, I suffer more. I'm like, why is it so heavy? Why can't we just go, like, I believe that if you like painting and you paint and you can release your trauma and suffering this way, you're doing something creative, light and refreshing. Whereas you're sitting down and chugging some mushroom tea and then you're sweating and then somebody's shaking you and doing wrap up your nose. I'm not sure that this heaviness attached to that is helpful. I'm not sure that this suffering actually helps you. I think it brings you out because you feel so much suffering. That suffering that you have compared to like throwing up on ayahuasca ceremony is like nothing now. I feel so light. Of course you feel so light. You just throw up for 5 hours and process I don't know what. but I don't think it's a permanent solution. I don't think
Yeah.
that's something that you take with you, because it gets people to this depressive state of always healing, always trying to find something more.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was a long rant,
No,
but
it was great. Yeah.
I feel there's something about it, and it doesn't align with me, and I don't
Yeah.
know why. I'm curious what you think.
At least the rapid goes up your nose. There's also some kind of techniques that go up other places to
Yes,
release
yes,
suffering. So,
yes,
yeah, I think, to use Occam's razor, right? Often the simplest uh, explanation is the truth, right? I think there is a tremendous lack of precision and understanding about real healing, unfortunately. So there is this mishmash of just, hey, like bro science, right? And let's just do all this stuff and we're all going to mix it together and it's going to probably hope work well. And it creates a lot of chaos. I think it creates a lot of re traumatization. I think a lot of people actually become more traumatized as a result of mixing and matching too much. I think it comes down to a lack of precision. There are some great benefits in going into really deep cathartic states, but it has to be done in a precise way with proper resources, with proper holding to actually liberate, instead of what happens in many people. I certainly it happened in me, building a new loop, which is this addiction to going into things and missing that that's just another trauma loop,
yes,
right? I was afraid of touching it. Now I'm just going to the other extreme and becoming obsessed with it. Now I'm just afraid of quote unquote being normal and not being in a process all the time.
yes. And then you start judging other people who were previously you. Like, oh,
Yeah,
these people don't understand. They are not enlightened
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And it's a growth path, I hopefully people don't get stuck in it for too long. Hopefully life reflects to them that this isn't working, and hopefully they have the honesty and sincerity to recognize it when that comes. Like, wow, there's something really off. I mean, I was so extremely arrogant in phases of my spiritual path. I felt so much better than everyone else. Everyone else was a sheep and they didn't get it. And at one time I even was very rude to a woman in the beginning of my spiritual path. Very arrogant. And in that moment it really made sense to me. Right? When I was in the experience, I was like, wow, you're really like spreading the dharma here. You're doing something good. And then looking back, and my parents were with me at the time, and they said, wow, that was kind of rude. And I was like, oh, they don't get it. And I had all these rationalizations. But, 5 years later, I thought about it and I was like, whoa, what an asshole I was.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need time to see it. So even if someone is like that to you, let's say we go out to an event and someone is judgmental and you feel it, you can feel it. Okay, it's not about you. They're working through something in their own consciousness, and you just happen to be there at that exact
Yes,
time.
yes. Um, Speaking about spirituality, I didn't ask you that question before. I'm going to ask you now. What is God for you?
Ah.
I'm sorry. I have to ask. I have to ask. We have to go there. I'm sorry.
Well, the first thing I notice is my heart overflowing with joy and bliss. I cannot, no word I say will satisfy the inner experience or the direct communion with, whatever you want to call reality or God. So, yeah,
Okay.
cannot say anything.
Uh, and what is your belief about past lives, simulation? Where are we? Are we living in this reality? Are we gonna die and our souls are out there and soulful council gonna decide the future of the world? Like, what is your stand on all of this for going through such a large journey? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I was just talking with Alex about this yesterday night.
Of course.
I came after a long flight and we stayed till 1 or 2 a.m. discussing this stuff. I believe there are infinite perceptions that consciousness can take. Every perception is valid from its own perspective and true from within its own perspective. And this game is a game of perceptions. So I could say it is a simulation. I'm totally fine with that perception. I could say there is a creator God that somehow is manifesting as all of this. Fits me. I could say there's past lives that I, as a seeming individual mind stream, have lived through. I could also say that since the beginning of time and prior to that, there's only been me as the creator and being that animates all of this. And I'm also fine with that. So consciousness can take myriad perceptions, and there's truth to all of them because they're being reflected in consciousness in that moment. Is there a reality that we can perceive beyond perception? I'm in doubt. The more I see from my own perceptions and beliefs, the more I just have beginner's mind. And the honest answer is, I don't know. And that's such a wonderful place to genuinely be in the I don't know.
I assume you're asking questions about your own mortality, as most of us are.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest fear is what is out there after we die. So, how do you come with the agreement with yourself or what's going to happen? And how do you
Yeah.
see mortality in general?
Yeah, I mean the body obviously is going to die unless we have unless we have some crazy technological advances, which could happen. I don't have any questions about what's after death. It's not something that takes up a lot of space in my consciousness. In a way, I feel like I'm already in a state that would happen after the body drops. The mystics talk about this as dying before you die. So I feel I've gone through experiences that have showed me something about that. So, in a sense, I feel like I'm dead and alive simultaneously in my subjective experience. And my only hope is that when, if I can be aware or conscious in that last moment of death, that I will have a big smile on my face and excitement for the surrender into whatever that adventure is, if there even is an adventure.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's being okay with knowing that you don't know.
You know, when we come in, we cry, right? As infants, we cry usually when we come in. So hopefully we'll go out with a laugh or with a smile. You know, that seems like a good full circle journey.
I think we should end at this.
Yeah.
This is a powerful moment. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm infinitely grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, guys. We're gonna end here.
Cool.